Hello friends, followers and fellow flight simmers. Welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator and the second episode of Just Flight BAE 146 Professional. As I mentioned in the last episode, this will be the cold and dark startup video all the way to taxi ready. So we are currently parked at Stansted Airport in London and we are in Jersey European colors, and we will be filling a flight plan into the FMC for Frankfurt. So without further ado, let's jump into the cockpit and let's get the things started. This will also be like the detailed cold and dark start, I would say, not like a quick start guide, so please take it like that, because if you are looking for something that will skip some of the tests or some other things and carry you directly to the flying part of it, this might not be the video for you. So this will be a little bit longer than that. Alright, let's go and get started. First things, we check the weather radar is off, transponder is on standby, which it is, and engine fuel shut off, engine levers are idle, and fuel shut at the fuel shut off detent. And go and turn the battery power on. So remember from the last video, 2 battery switches to turn it on. You can check the voltage levels and it is now discharging. As you see here, it's below 0. Better view of that is like you have negative amps, that means your battery is draining. So after batteries are on, we might see some warnings, which is fine. We will cancel those with these, like in any other aircraft. And what we do at this point is we'll go to the upper overhead and we have our nav lights here. We turn it to high intensity, no smoking lights to auto. We arm the cabin emergency lights, and if needed you can use the logo lights or wing lights if you are doing some night flying. This is where you turn them on at this point. We are in daytime hours, so I'm not going to worry about those. Beacon and strobe stays off for now. And moving down to the center, after powering the aircraft, we should see the landing gear lever down and 3 greens over here, which is checked. And we check the parking brake on the yellow system and it is pulled, which means the parking brake is on. We go back to the upper overhead and turn these master switches for yaw damper, autopilot and avionics. While we are here, we'll go ahead and put the lift spoilers on yellow and green system to on and anti-skid to on. This is all we need to do here. And go 1 level down to the electrical panel, and over here we can put the bus ties to on for both AC and DC systems. Standby inverter and standby generator can be armed at this point, and we can also put the APU generator to on position. We can now turn on the inner fuel pump. See that it says left inner low pressure. This is the pump that feeds the APU, but because no electrical power at this point in the AC system to run the pump doesn't run on DC battery power, it's showing low pressure. When we have the APU power, this pump will start operating and APU can start with suction power to pull fuel from this tank. As long as we have the inner tank turned on, we should be fine after the APU start. Before we start the APU though, we go and do the APU fire test. Okay, that works. And APU fire extinguisher test, that also works. And the last one is APU overspeed test, which is displayed down there. Alright, so we're good. All the tests checks, and we can now start the APU. You'll hear the APU spooling, RPM increasing, and turbine gas temperature gauge increasing. If we go outside, we can hear the APU and even see the fumes from the exhaust, which is here. You can see the heat blur. APU is kicking in, and it will be shortly online, and we will see a light over here saying APU power online available. Yeah, APU power available, and as long as it's available, or the APU gem will kick in. Because the buses are tied, this pump will start running and those low pressure lights will extinguish. So now we are on APU power. We can turn on the APU air over here to on, and turn one of the packs to provide some cooling to the cabin. And go down to the center panel to test the MWS master warning system. So this will turn all the lights and flash all the master warning, master caution. Cancel that, move it to the center position with the light extinguished. So that's the test complete. You can complete more ground tests if you want to. All of them are here, like the stall warning and the stick shakers, so on and so forth. You can try this. I'm not gonna go through the entire test cycle here. That will make the video a lot longer. So next thing we need to do is to make sure we have our hydraulic system working as it should. So what we do to test it is we come on, turn the DC pump on, and we are monitoring the yellow system for increased pressure. And if we look down here, this is also going to run the yellow system's brake accumulator, which will accumulate some pressure to hold us in place while the system is turned off. Okay, so we are waiting to see the brake accumulator low pressure to go away. That will then accumulate the enough pressure in the brakes to hold us in place. That works. We turn the pump back to off, and this time we wait for the lights to come back. Accumulator light will not come back because the brake accumulator accumulated enough pressure with that pump running for a while. We'll turn on the AC pump, and we should see the same thing. And to test the green system, we turn the power transfer unit to on, PTU, like the barking dog in the Airbus, and you hear it a little bit different than the Airbus, but the pressure gauges are showing pressure, so that means all hydraulic systems are working, which we can go back to off position. So moving down to the overhead, we'll arm the cabin emergency lights, or flight deck emergency lights, not cabin. Cabin is up there, sorry. And go to the pedestal and activate the yaw damper system by pressing that button. At this point we can set our transponder code and leave it at standby, and you can also go to maybe this will be a better view of that. You can also go to ATC FID and put your flight code here, like Jersey European, I assume uses Juliet Echo Romeo, I believe. I might be wrong, so don't quote me on this, but this is how you do. This is like an old cell phone keyboard, and I'll just put 146 as our flight number. You hit enter, and then you can hit ATC FID to go back to transponder mode. So that is now done, and our passengers now they should be on board. We can take some fuel in the center tank, maybe 200 or 400 kilograms, which will make us overweight. So let's cut from the forward cargo a little bit, and that should get us back to gross weight limits. Alright, cancel that one. And now what we do is we go to the overhead again, move the center transfer tank to auto. This will transfer the fuel from the center tanks to the wing tanks when we are airborne. We set the pressurization panel for our flight cruise level, which is going to be 23,000 for today's flight to Frankfurt. So we will adjust this to 23, which should be roughly around 5,000 feet cabin pressure. This should be normal, this should be on auto. So pressurization system is set. We'll turn the ice detection system to on, even though we are not expecting any icing conditions. And we will go down and confirm our fuel after changing the fuel quantities in the EFB. 37, 37, and roughly 400, which checks with what we have loaded into the aircraft. And next step is to set our flight recorder, which can be found here. We'll pull that handle to remove the yoke, and I can go a little bit closer. 30th of April, first leg of the day, and our flight number is 146. This only has 3 digits, so you might skip this part if you don't want to do this every time. That is fine. And this brings us to the thrust modulation system. So we'll turn it on with the power button and run its built-in test. And this is gonna help us determine our takeoff thrust setting. So we arm the takeoff. It is gonna tell us based on the outside temperature, which is 10 degrees, which you can find over here. And the QNH is 1015. That should be, no, sorry, I didn't set the QNH 1016. But 92.9 is our takeoff N1 thrust setting, which we need to bug using these bugs to 93%. And the easier way of doing this, I'm just gonna show for one engine, is to hit the placard here, and that will set it for you. And we will use TGT 840, which is the max TGT we can use for max climb. And clicking this placard will also set the speed box for us, which is nice. Alright, that is done, and we don't want the TMS to interfere with engine start, so we power it off for now, and we will turn it back on before takeoff. So that's all the speeds set. We turn our radios, nav radios to on, DME to on, and then we turn our comms or comm radios to on, which are here. I was looking way down, and that is taken care of. By the way, let me get out of this page. This is kind of scary. I might click something accidentally, which might get us back to cold and dark. So now it is time to program the FMS. There is no position initialization, it's done automatic. I think just flight coded this to have it automatic, so nothing you can do here. We jump straight into the flight plan page. Our departure or origin is Echo Golf Sierra Sierra, London Stansted, and our destination is Echo Delta Delta Foxtrot, Frankfurt. Right after this, we go to the departure and arrivals page. We are departing from runway 22, and we are departing for using the clean 2 Echo SID. We'll execute this and come back to the flight plan. This will fill the first row for us. Next page, now we are going to fill out our flight plan routing using our flight plan from SimBrief in this case. After Charlie Romeo Lima November, we are taking an airway P44, and that airway will take us to Redlow, Romeo Alpha Tango Lima Oscar. That is the first, and then we will jump on Mike 197 airway and exit at intersection Redfa intersection. So this will take us to Redfa, Romeo Echo Delta Foxtrot Alpha. From Redfa we are jumping on Lima 620 airway, and airways go to the left side as you have probably seen in many tutorials, and the waypoints go to the right side of the FMS or FMC, whatever you want to call this. It takes a little bit to load sometimes, be patient, and this will take us to Tasha. Tango Alpha Hotel, oh sorry, Tango Alpha Charlie Hotel Alpha, that's done, and we have a direct to Sagpo, Sierra Oscar Golf Papa Oscar, so that's a direct, and then we have another direct to Misco, Mike India Sierra Golf Uniform of Golf Oscar, that's another direct, and we'll go to the next page, we don't have enough room left, and we'll go another direct to Dixat, and we will take our an airway from here, Tango 149er, which will take us to Rollis, I'm sorry, Lipme, if I'm pronouncing this correctly. And then from here we are taking another one, Tango 9er 1, oh Tango 9er 11, so Tango 9er 11, and that will take us to Rollis, which is our last waypoint before our star. So that is the routing for this part, which we can now execute this. Go to departure arrivals page, departure arrival index, arrival. We are doing an ILS to 07 right at Frankfurt, and our arrival is Rollis 3 Delta with a Delta Foxtrot 654 transition, which we can now select and execute. Go to the next page, scroll through and make sure we don't have any discontinuities. If you do, you have to clean those up by selecting the waypoint and pasting it over the discontinuity. I think we do have another one right here on our arrival because we have vectors to final. That's why it's there, but you can clear it up by pasting it onto the vectors. And that should be it for the discontinuities. We click this in the legs page, and that is the FMS part done for our flight. Now we are pretty much ready to start our engines. But we need to first retract the stairs and close our doors, and the stairs are retracted on hydraulic power, so we need to turn the AC pump to on and go to the EFB aircraft, and now we can retract the stairs. You can see the animation of the stairs moving in and sliding into its place, and we can now close the front door.
Cabin crew, arm doors and cross check.
Okay, arm doors and close check, announcement by the cabin crew. Now we are ready to start our engines. Fasten seatbelt signs to on, assuming our passengers are on board. APU air to off, packs to off, because we will need that bleed air to start the engines. Over here we turn the starter master to on. Start power needs to be in the norm position, and we select engine number 4 to start with, and we hit the starter. And what we do is we are monitoring N2 for 25%, N2 rotation, and then we will introduce fuel. So 23, 24, 25, fuel coming, and we started to, oh, what I forgot, hold on, I forgot something, and this happens, so sorry about that. And we go back and turn off the starter master, and we forgot to turn off on our fuel pumps. That's why the engine didn't start, because right outer tank feeds engine number 4 and it wasn't on. So sorry about that mistake, guys. I don't want to cut with the video to pretend like that didn't happen. So bear with me for a second, and then we will get that engine started here in a little bit. Okay, now again M1 N2 rotation, 13, 14, 15, 16, we are waiting for 25, and then we will introduce fuel. We are looking for oil temperature, ignition, TGT started rising, and then N2 rotation. So that's the signs of a good engine start. We are going to wait for the engine to stabilize. And the lights should extinguish. At this point, if you want to, you can also do the fire tests for each engine, which I'm gonna skip for now. Let's go and start engine number 3. So selector switch to 3, hit the starter, go down and monitor the parameters or the gauges. N2 rotation, alright, fuel flow right here, oil temperature, ignition. So that's a good sign of an engine start, or those are good signs of a successful engine start, I would say. And we are now going to wait for the engine to stabilize like the engine 4, and we will go and do the same for the other 2 engines. So our right wing engines are running now. Oh, beautiful sounds. Again, just flight, very well executed add-on. We'll go engine number 2, hit the starter engage switch, and look down to monitor the parameters again. N2 rotation, adding fuel, fuel flow, oil temperature, ignition, and N2 rotation, N2 rotation. So that's M1, I'm sorry, I keep saying M1, N2 rotation. So successful start on engine number 2. Let's go and switch to engine number 1 now and wait for the engine number 2 to stabilize, which it should very shortly. There we go. And last engine to start, engine number 1, engage the starter and do the same thing. Monitor and add M1 rotation. Adding fuel, fuel flow, oil temperature, ignition, and N2 rotation. So successful engine start for engine number 1. Alright, we have all engines now started. Now we will turn the starter master to off. And the start selector goes to off as well. So usually you have anti-ice on when starting the engines. I'm not expecting any icing. I forgot to maybe do that part, but I think this is specific to 146. It requires ice switches to be on to avoid any ice buildup in the engines during start. So that's fine. We now go and take care of our hydraulic systems. So we turn the engine pumps on to get hydraulic power and turn the brake fans to auto. And we turn the AC pump to auto and PTU to on. You can turn the AC pump to on as well. Auto should take care of it. Now, while we have the engines running, we can just go back and turn the engine bleed system to on, and we can turn the packs to on and cabin air to on. So that will provide AC to the cabin. We can now turn off the APU because we have good engine start, but I think if I'm remembering correctly, APU starts on or stays on until you take off, so we might as well leave it on until we take off. So now we have the engine started, and we turn the window heat and left and right vanes and pitot heaters on. Cancel that warning. Go and turn the PMS on again. Hit the test one more time. There's an electrical warning that we need to check. That might be the engine generators being off because we haven't done that part yet. TMS is on. Now for the electricals, we can now turn the engine generators on, turn off the APU generator, and provide some power to the galley. So now all the lights should extinguish there. There is still an electrical warning, I guess. Oh, that's the APU generator. So if we move it to off reset or move it to on, it should clear up that. Yep. And what is the other warning there? Parking brake on, flight recorder off. That will start recording the flight automatically as we start taxiing. So we can turn the APU generator off. We don't need APU to generate power. Our engine generators are generating enough, and our transformer rectifiers are charging our batteries, and our batteries no longer discharge. Very good. So that's the engine start, and we are pretty much ready to taxi to the runway after pushback. So that is how you start the 146. Obviously we have to remove the chocks. That's the last step. Go back, go to the map maybe, so that you don't accidentally click anything. And that is about it, guys. We are ready to taxi. All we need to do is to push back and turn the taxi lights on and taxi to the runway. And when you are pushing back, you can also set the flaps and whatnot. The pushback plugin by ambitious pilots have some issues with this aircraft. Like if I do a manual, we can pre-plan and I can show you what's happening, and we will wrap the video after the pushback. Okay, so we have good engine start, so we'll go over pushback like this and line up like that. Maybe I think we are okay to face that way. And
cockpit to ground.
This is ground.
Okay.
Stand by.
Let's go to this view and watch the pushback from here. We started our engines on the stand on purpose but you can start them as you are pushing back as well. There is nothing wrong. I was just trying to show how to start the engines and complete the cold and dark startup procedure.
Okay, sir. The bypass pin is installed. All doors and hatches closed and all ground equipment is removed.
The parking brakes are set. You may lift.
Parking brake set. Lifting the aircraft.
Alright, so that's a little bit too much for this aircraft, maybe. Too much
You're cleared
lift.
for start and push.
Okay, cleared for push start. Please release parking brake.
Okay, parking brake released. Parking brake released.
Parking brakes are released.
You need to be in the
Commencing
cockpit
pushback.
to do
You can
that.
start the
Interesting.
engines in sequence.
It will start in the sequence.
Alright, he's gonna push us back. Very nice. There we go. And that will be the last step of this video before we go to the runway and take off for our destination, Frankfurt, which we will do in the next episode of this video series with the Just Flight 146 Professional. But today is going to be just this part. We will end the video here after pushback, and hopefully see you guys in the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I tried to give a little bit more detail and try to do some more system tests to get it a little bit closer to the real life operation of this aircraft. If you did like, consider hitting that like button, and if you stumbled upon this video, consider subscribing and turning on the bell to get notified for my future videos, which will start coming for this aircraft and the others that are going to be released very shortly in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Alright, pushback is almost done. We can jump back into the cockpit. It's gonna stop anytime now.
Okay, pushback completed. Please set your parking brake.
Okay.
Parking brake set.
Set.
Parking brake set. Lowering aircraft.
There we go.
Ground. Startup is complete. You may disconnect.
And you can now
Roger.
disconnect.
Good engine start. Clear it to disconnect. See you at the side.
Alright, turn
Have a
the
good
flight
flight.
directors on.
Holding position waiting for the visual. Thank you and
Our
goodbye.
initial climb is going to be 4,000. According to the charts, there is a 4,000 restriction. We'll set that up for 4,000, and you need to arm it. We'll do this before takeoff. Radio, we will set the VOR station just for a second measure to have more situational awareness, I would say. That's from 4.55. DME is on, and this is pretty much it at this point to taxi to the runway. I hope I didn't miss anything. I'm just doing a final check. Oh yeah, flaps. We'll do the flaps 18 for takeoff. That's flaps 18, and we'll turn on the taxi lights, and that will get all this part complete. We can also, while we are taxiing, do a config check, and there is a warning there, so there is a config check warning. That might be the APU gen that I turned off. Let's see here. Let's try this one more time. Oh, maybe it's the continuous ignition that needs to be turned on. And the trim should be set at this point. Yep, it should be set for nose up. And still having a horn. I don't know why. Everything should be okay now. But we will do that one more time and do the config check, and one more time when we get to the runway. Okay, so that will conclude today's video, guys. Thanks for being here and watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.